How are Darlene doing?
Darlene, I just saw and spoke with, and better. He feels better today, and this is going to be a how much better are you feeling each day now? He played through, you know, the other night he played through soreness, and we're trying to manage it that way till it resolves to the point he's not playing with that. So that day to day is we'll see where he is tomorrow. He's a possibility for tomorrow. Upi is not a possibility for tomorrow. He did skate today. He's still recovering, and he's in a day-to-day category. This will resolve and be gone in illness, but it's a day-to-day now, and he will not be back tomorrow in any capacity for backup or starting.
When you look at this game last night, and I looked at the Samuelson power pair, a lot of talk already about Samuelson, all the block shots. What was your thought on Owen in that game? It seems like in recent games he's had some trouble with decision making, but he just seemed to be at another level last night, like a lot of your guys were.
I've said it in this room after games. When you look at your team in execution or lack of execution, and it's in multiple areas, you probably didn't come out ready to compete as well as the other team came out ready to compete. And the margin in the NHL now, in the salary cap era, is slight. It's shrunk. So the offset, if another team sets the bar and you're not willing to, you could get run right out of the building, as we've seen around the league every night. So Owen last night competed at a much higher level. Went into autopilot rather than overthinking. When you're not ready to compete at a high level and the other team is, you're on your heels. And you start consciously playing the game instead of the decisive manner of a competitor. And when you can get to that, which he and Samuelson and many others last night, you're playing on those instincts and the training you've had. So that was the difference for Owen, and the difference in everybody else in the game last night was the willingness to compete at a greater level than the guy across the ice from him.
Their last shift was 3 minutes, and watching it back, their compete level never went down. They had to have been beat and tired, but it just did you see the same thing, that they just continued even though it was a 3 minute shift and the compete level never went down with them?
Well, I spoke for 2 years, Paul, plus about efficiency and about experienced players have the advantage of knowing how to play efficient, how to conserve energy, read a play, and know when to jump on a play. They don't give up anything, but they know when to pounce on it. That's the best goal scorers in the league. The best. They're in a position, and they know when to jump. They jump because they recognize it's time to jump now. And last night, the last couple minutes, as you're saying, an extended shift in the D zone, you can only do that and minimize what you give up, which the guys did a nice job of that. Be willing to block shots, competitive, and discerning when to pounce as a group of five. All five have to be playing together. So again, that's been the quest to get players to that experience level, that you can play efficient as a group of five, knowing when to pounce and move as a group of five. They did a tremendous job of that late in that game. The foundation being greater experience and compete.
Talking to Devin, it seemed like he had a blast with Rochester, and he learned, some things he could add to his repertoire. Just, I guess, what was the report that you got from Devin, how he did with Rochester?
Well, I think anytime you're in the NHL, you're under the fire. I mean, you're in a microscope. You can get critiqued for everything and anything or everything for that matter. And you're in it. And Rochester's a resource, as I mentioned when we sent him there. It's a resource that we could use to get him to take a step back, much like giving Jack Quinn a healthy scratch and Peyton Krebs a time to just back off. And when you arrive, you realize, there's lots of guys in this situation with me, And you instantly have a camaraderie with a group that he knows. He's been with those players. He was with them through rookie camp and training camp. So it's a chance to recharge, decompress, re-energize. It's a resource, Rochester, and I thought it was a moment that, based on what we did, that was the right moment to let him use that resource and recharge him, and it appears that's what it did.
How big was today for Quinn? Just another step on the road to get into a lot more drills.
Yeah, each day now is big for Quinn because he's moving from recovering from an injury to preparing to play, and while there's a lot of physical, there's a long way to go physically for him. There's a long way to go psychologically when you have an injury that's the duration of his as far as recovery. In those two pieces, we don't have a lot of practice time, so you factor that in. That's huge. I mean, today was really a flush. You get lactic acid out, you get ready for the game tomorrow. It wasn't much of a practice for him with physicality and challenge, but it's a step for him that he would not get in a rehab skate. So the more he can get, the better. Unfortunately, I don't think our next full practice is not going to be for about another week and a half or so.
Once he gets to the point where he's ready to step into the lineup, do you foresee maybe an injury stint in Rochester to let him sort of get back into the swing?
Yeah, I haven't even thought of that. And the goal is to get him prepared for here. Again, if we feel that that would be a resource, I don't know, we'd cross that bridge at that time, but haven't thought that.
Don, this has been such a difficult
Sorry,
time.
Joe.
Sorry, Joe. This has been such a difficult time for this club. And you think of games like New York, Boston, Colorado. You think of those third periods against Pittsburgh and Winnipeg. So it shows that it's in there, in that room. Does it make it easier? Does it make it easier for you as a coach to say to them, look, just do it? We've seen it. You can do it. It's not like it's a bad team. I mean, how do you approach it when you see this level of achievement in some games and struggle in other games?
First, I'd start by saying I don't see this as a difficult time. I see it as a challenging time, and there's a big difference there. Difficult time would be you can't get out of it. It's too difficult. This is a challenge, and I also see it, as I mentioned in here, as part of a process to get to the next level of play. Expectations rose, weren't meeting them, have to deal with the consequences of not meeting them, all at the same time if you've never been in this territory. And it's new territory, and you feel different things, that you feel pressure that maybe you shouldn't, and it clouds what you can do. And you start feeling a little vulnerable. Fragile, I think, is the word you used the other day. And at some point, like I say, the challenge, we can overcome it. Much less a difficulty, it's a challenge. And you have to accept it as a challenge. And until you accept it as a challenge, it's going to keep repeating. And you're not going to stay on the same plateau that you're on, that you think you've gotten to. You're going to fall off it. And that's what happens. And we talked about, I don't even know what game number, but a few weeks ago, and I mentioned in this room that we challenged players with that. We've gotten too comfortable. We like this plateau. We got our own little piece of it. Can't stay on it. It's pro sports. You better be reaching for the next one instead of protecting the one you're on and trying to protect the one you're on. And that's a challenge we needed and we need to face. You can't stay where you're at. Now, you weigh it, and the urgency is, and everybody in this room, every loss is doomsday. Is that the loss that cost you the playoffs? We can't even worry about that. We gotta face this challenge. Talk about our starts, talk about our whatever it is. It boils down to what I said at the start of this press conference: compete. Until we fool ourselves that the problem is something else. It's this, it's that, it's the power play, it's the penalty kill, it's compete. Until you look in the mirror and accept that, it's going to be a tough road. And that's the challenge for us.
I was going to ask, with Quinn being cleared for contact, does that put a timeline in place for his return? Is that still?
I'm sorry,
Does it put a timeline in place for Quinn's return now that he's cleared for contact?
still too big of a window there, Joe, I think, to say anything with confidence for me. It's going to be a feel of, again, with our scattered practices, that's a challenge. And then with, the psyche that comes into it and his feel good, that's unknown. So there's too many unknowns, I think, in there, to the two big ones, the practice time and obviously his feel. But we'll monitor it out. Maybe I'll feel a little different in a week and we'll have a target, but not today.
What do you think a game like last night can do for Connor Clifton's confidence getting on the score sheet? It just seemed like he was more himself than he's been in a little while.
He was himself for the first time in a long time, and I don't look at it as what that game could do. I look at it as, can he repeat that game? Everything's good if he can repeat the game, and that's his challenge. I think he's more than capable of it. And I had a chat with him today, and I've known him I've known him for a long time, and he has not been himself. And then the play will, he'll be more challenged in his play, and he has been. But last night was very good and hit the repeat button.
So last night maybe more reaction and less thinking in his game.
More initiative, more decisive. So yes, and that eliminates thinking. So I don't even want to say less thinking. Just be decisive. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Why fear you're wrong when you're in the middle of something? Do it. Don't worry about a repercussion. And if you can't let go of that, we get what we've got the last couple of weeks.
As far as Eric goes, I mean, he had reached a stage in his career where maybe he needed a fresh start. I mean, can you sense that he's energized by the opportunity he has here?
Eric Johnson.
I'm sorry, Eric Robinson. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Who's the third one? Comrie. Yeah, first names are really difficult, very difficult. So Robinson, and the question was,
Just he had reached a stage in his career where he probably needed a fresh start. I mean, he went through some stuff earlier this year, and now he has looks like a great opportunity. Can you sense when he shows up that he's energized by what he has before him?
Definitely. And you mentioned what he's gone through this year. I think, was he on waivers this year? And went back to the AHL, and I think he's 28 years old and played a couple hundred games, and now what we need is hungry, competitive appetite. Hungry, competitive guys. He's got enough experience. He's got size. He plays a direct game. He fits a lot of his attributes. Fit exactly what we need to add. I don't want to say add from the outside. We need to add more of that to our game. But he's a guy that we've decided to bring in from the outside. That you're not going to miss that. You're not going to miss seeing that. You're going to see that. How he plays the game, direct, hard, and competitive, very hungry, is what we need right now. And so he can come in, and just in those simple things, he doesn't have to score a goal. Those are all bonuses. He probably will. But those are the things we need, and those are the things we will score goals because of, or defend harder because of, and be harder to play against. So, yeah, he's a fit for that reason, and I do think that these guys' career is a progression. I think he's at 27 now. He's gone through this. This is another, another instance that inches him up to be even more competitive.
Montreal confirmed Caden Primo for tomorrow. Devin just said that Primo was a mentor for him when he got to college. So will Devin get to face his mentor tomorrow?
He'll have a good chance of that. He'll have a 50-50 chance of that.
Both Devin and Caden, though, have had pretty similar road to the NHL, going to the same college, World Junior, and everything. What do you see in Devon's game that will allow him to have maybe a smooth transition to the pro level? I know you've seen.
I don't know if there is a smooth transition to the pro level, because I think when you look at all these guys, it's years before they come what they're going to be. So part of getting to your greatness for all players is going through massive ups and downs, and challenges and struggles, and then learning to rebound and elevate to the next one. And Devin's already gone through that at the start of this year, but he's responded very well, which is a real positive. So Devin's going the right direction. And he's going the right directions, and we have confidence because of the foundation elements, his commitment to it, commitment to work, through adversity, through challenge, and fight.
Just the last one on him. Were you the one who had to tell him that he couldn't meditate on the ice?
Well, it started with the league, so he's had to search for alternative ways to do that. So, but I was not the one that had to break the news to him. So.